Welcome back everyone to 3D modeling a Hobbit Door scene with Blender 2.9 and Adobe Photoshop. So here's where we left it off. Now let's work on this first. So this top step we can see is way too big at the back. So let's bring it back a little bit. So I'm going to come in, grab this face. I'm going to put this back on global. I'm going to pull it back like so. And I think also I'll bevel the back off just to make it look a little bit nicer from the back in case you ever use it. So let's bevel that off like so. And yeah, that looks really nice. Now the key to beveling off the key to UVing things like this is just to come in and grab each of these edges like so, right click, mark seam, and then come under the bottom, grab the bottom, Control E, mark seam, and that then should open really nice. So all these flaps should actually come out so you can actually UV unwrap it correctly. Now let's come to this first step. Press tab, grab the step, and you'll notice we've still got a modifier on. We don't want to apply this yet until we've actually marked our seams, because we know if we mark a seam here, it'll be carried on all the way down. So let's come in, and what we'll do is we'll mark our seams like so. And let's have a look at the back. Right click, mark seam, face select, bottom face, Control E, mark seam. Okay, so let's see what these are going to unwrap like. So we'll grab this top step now. So I'm going to grab this. I'm going to press L. I'm going to come to UV editing. I'm going to press U, unwrap, and that should unwrap absolutely perfectly. Let's bring in the material so we can actually see that visually. Press plus, down arrow, rock and moss, and there we go. All right, so they're probably a little bit too big at the moment on the UV map, so we'll bring them in smaller. But we're just getting a good visual of what it's going to look like. And I think at this point now, we can actually apply our modifiers. So let's click on our spanner, hover over it, Control A, and now let's press Tab. And you'll see now that they're all in the same place. And that's not really what we want. So what we want to do is come over to UV, Viewport, press A to grab everything, UV, come down, Pack Islands. And there you go. And now you can see that we've got a lot of randomness on them. And just make sure that they're pretty similar to this moss on here. So I'm looking at the size and comparing it, and you can come in then and make it a little bit smaller, so with the S button, or a little bit bigger depending on what you want. I think I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Let's have a look at that. Maybe that's a little bit too much, so a little bit bigger, and I think that should be fine. Again, when we come to actually render this out, we'll have a much better idea. In fact, we can check that out once we've done this top step. So let's come to this top step now. Grab it, L, U, unwrap, and let's bring in our rock and moss like so, and then let's join this with these. So join them all together, so Control J, and now we can see how big this one needs to be. So I'm going to grab them all, and then I'm going to come in and grab this one. I'm going to spin it round, so R90. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, just so it's nearly the same size as the other ones I'm working with, and then that should be good to go. Now I can see here that I'm not really happy with this one here, so I'm just going to move this one. I'm going to grab it all, so L, A, G, and let's just move it a little bit, just so it's a little bit different than that. I didn't really like the UV map on that part of it. Okay, so I think I'm really happy with that. Let's come back over to modeling, and of course these are way too sharp at the moment, so we need them beveled off. So again, Control A, all transforms, right click, set origin to geometry. Now, because on these we're actually using quads, you'll see that there's no triangles on them. We should be able to get away now with adding a bevel modifier. So let's add modifier, bevel, and you'll see actually they beveled off really nice. So there's no problems with them. So let's come in and turn this down now to something like 0.2. And again, let's have a look what they look like. We do want them beveled off. Maybe let's bring up the segments. Let's have a look what that looks like. I think that actually looks better like that. Let's have a look if it's better on 0.1. And I'm just going to double tap the 8, and I think that looks really nice. So you can see it look really rounded, as they would, really weathered, like they've been out in the weather a long time. And yeah, that looks really nice. Because these things, at the end of the day, wouldn't be replaced as often as a door. The door would be painted, things like that. It would be varnished, and it would just be looked after a lot more than the actual stone steps. All right, so I'm really happy with that. So what we're going to do now, we're going to check out what this actually looks like with our render, and we're also going to delete this actual empty. We don't need that anymore. So let's delete the empty like so, and now let's come and put this actually on, I think, yes, it's on cycles, so we'll be able to see what this looks like on our cycles render engine. And you can see that the scene, it's probably not bright enough at the moment, so we might need to brighten it up, but you can see it's really coming along now, and it's starting to look really nice. Let's try it on Eevee as well. So we'll put this onto Eevee and have a look what that looks like. Just let it load up, and there we go. Okay, so the one thing as well we might need to do is, as well as brighten up the steps a little bit, we might just need to make this a little bit dark. It's probably a little bit too bright at the moment, but we will go in, as I say, and fix all that when we come to render it out. Okay, so now let's go back to our texture shader, put that back on, and what we need now is we need a picture of this front door to make our actual hinges. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press 1 on the number pad, and all I really want is just this roundness here. It doesn't need to be a good picture or anything like that, so I'm simply just going to press Alt and print and just print the screen out, and then basically we're going to go on over now to Photoshop and get this in there and get it prepared, ready to actually create another SVG, this time for the hinges. So let's go on over now to Photoshop. So here we are in Photoshop. I'm actually going to use the same layers as what I did for our bird. I'm just going to turn this off, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hover over here, press Ctrl V, and then this is going to bring in my screenshot that I took. Now I'm going to press Ctrl T, and that is basically going to enable me then to pull this out and make it much bigger, something I can actually work with. And you can see all I'm basically trying to look for, as I say, is this roundness here. I'm just trying to see how round it is to make my hinges actually fit into place. So I'm just going to make it as much as I can. I'm going to press Control and the minus button on the number pad just to come out a little bit, like so. And then I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger and pull it up to the edges, put it more in the middle, like so. I'm going to press Enter then, and there we go. That is a really good start for us to create our actual hinges. Okay, now, so on the next lesson, what we'll do is we'll actually start to create the hinges, and we'll make some beautiful, like, kind of tree metal or something like that, you know, going in and out, and basically try and work around this actual stainless glass window and around these edges here. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope to see you on the next one. Thanks a lot, everyone. Bye-bye.